Border came out a little bit awkwardly, but she settles down. No, nay, never. Has the head up high. He wants to go quick. He takes the early lead. In second placing, anticipated Verdure. On the outside was Jalota. Border parks in behind them. Then on the inside is Muharaj. On the rail is Rizina, the yellow jacket, and on her outside is Ulmathar. And towards the rear, Brown Sugar. They bunch up as they go through the first 500. And in the centre, it's No Nay Never. No Nay Never in front. In second placing, Muharaj on the rail. Jalota the outside, then Figure of Speech in the Godolphin blue. Next then was Verdure. They were followed by Border in the white with the purple cap just parked in behind them. Next in the field then was Brown Sugar, followed by Anticipated. El Muthan and Rizina is last of all. As they race down to the last 400, it's No Nay Never in front, and he's travelling strongly. No Nay Never has kicked at the 200. Jalota in second placing. Border to the outside begins to run on, but it's No Nay Never. No Nay Never bounds clear. Border late, but No Nay Never. 3 starts, 3 countries, 3 wins. First in a Group 1. And No Nay Never has won it.
No Nay
If you
Never.
have an enlarged prostate, do this 15.
That was fun. You never know what you're going to get when you're playing a replay from YouTube. But in any case, No Nay Never. What a tremendous talent, precociousness, and just absolute stunning speed. Coolmore stallion standing there in Ireland. And I am so thankful to have a Coolmore representative here with me in Adrian Wallace. And I have to laugh about the replay there. I don't know if you could hear the tail end of that with the audio still. But an advertisement was playing that was pretty interesting. But in any case, that being said, No Nay Never. How exceptional is it to have a horse like this as one of the Coolmore stallions who's just churning out so many horses that have this ability to win early and at Group 1 level. I just saw, by the way, 10 Sovereigns, who's been retired and is at stud with you guys too. The horse is going through the sale, much desired there at Goff's. But just to see No Nay Never go ahead, win the Prix Morny, and now we just saw his son Blackbeard do the same.
Yeah, hey Ren, how are you? Great to be with you. And thanks for having me on the show. Seeing that clip again, it brought back some real memories. Wesley Ward obviously trained No Nay Never for us. He was bred here in Kentucky by a great client and friend of ours named Jane Johnson, who she's been a great client of ours for the last 15, 20 years, and this is the best horse that not only she bred but possibly that anyone has ever bred. I mean, he's an incredible talent. He was very, very good from the word go, winning his debut over 4.5 furlongs for Wesley in Keeneland in April, and that was 9 years ago. So he was undefeated as a 2-year-old, went to Ascot, and then, as we saw, ran in the Prix Morny and won very convincingly. The interesting thing about that is remembering back, and I actually wasn't going to bring it up today, but I'd forgotten it. But when you see him coming down the stretch into the last few furlongs, you see how much he was getting into the ground that day and how soft the ground actually was. It rained quite a lot that morning in Deauville, and Wesley was almost about to not run him in that race. And it's if you ever catch Wesley on his own over the next while, just ask him about it. It was a real dilemma for him. He called Mr. Magner, he called Paul Shanahan various times and asked their advice. And eventually they just told him, listen, you're the trainer, you make up your own mind. And luckily enough for all of us, he ran him, and the horse thrived in those conditions and went on to become what he was, which was a really precocious, great sprinter, and has now become a really, really good stallion for us, and we're seeing it certainly this year with the likes of Blackbeard and the interestingly named Little Big Bear.
Yeah. Do you know well, we'll wait till we get to him because I'm wondering if you know the backstory to that name. But I will say part of what is also exciting about No Nay Never in particular, and I'm sure this is felt there at Coolmore, is considering that Scat Daddy was lost unexpectedly and at just 11 years old at the top of his success as a sire, really, at that point, to have him step in as an heir, and you have others there at the farm who we'll speak about as well. But just that line, when you think about it, it's so exceptional because you got No Nay Never, No Nay Never by Scat Daddy by Johannesburg by Hennessy by Stormcat, and then Stormcat by Stormbird. Just that grade 1 at 2 years old ability. it's something that you rarely see, an unbroken, consistent sire line like that with that precociousness at grade 1 level.
Yeah, 100%. And it's, while Coolmore Ireland have sat as well as Galileo, and obviously stood great sires like Danehill and Danehill Dancer as well, amongst many others. We could spend all day talking about them. But
right.
the line that's most synonymous with Coolmore America is the Stormbird, Stormcat, Hennessy, Johannesburg, and so on and so forth, through to Scat Daddy. We're now standing the 7th generation of that line between Justify, Mendelssohn, and Caravaggio here, who are in the 6th generation of that line, and then No Nay Never's got 2 sons at stud in Ireland. So it's the seventh generation now. It's the line that's most synonymous with this farm. They're all grade 1 winning 2-year-olds. Johannesburg himself was a phenomenal 2-year-old. I mean, as a 2-year-old, world champion 2-year-old, he won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile in Belmont Park. Who can ever forget that day when he came over and beat Officer coming down the stretch, when Officer looked like he was certainly going to be the best 2-year-old that America had to offer. And on his first start on dirt, Johannesburg managed to put him away. But it's a great line, a line that's rewarded us so handsomely over the years. And they're precocious, they're hardy. They like to run at 2, and luckily enough they go on and can win classic races like the likes of a Justify could as a 3-year-old.
Definitely a Triple Crown champion, and until Pharoah, there had been that 37-year drought. So to have 2 Triple Crown champions standing there at Coolmore is just exceptional. And you were just speaking about Johannesburg in the 2001 Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And it actually pulled that up because, as you said, he is dual champion. He went into the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, never having run on dirt before, but he is already decorated there across the pond. So the expectations of this horse now flipping surfaces to win at the championships, I'm sure was quite highly anticipated to see what he might do, and he did not disappoint.
No, he certainly didn't. And that's the great thing again about this line, is that not only are they good at 2, but they're good on both surfaces, and they tend to be very versatile. They tend to be quick horses, but they're dominant over in this country, and they're also very dominant, as we're seeing now with No Nay Never and his sons in Europe on obviously a predominantly turf surface. So it's an exciting time, especially with now sons of No Nay Never like 10 Sovereigns in Arizona standing at stud with their first yearlings.
Yeah.
And then Sioux Nation, another son of No Nay Never, who's had 26 first crop winners so far and 2 grade 3 winners so far in his first crop. So yeah, it's an exciting time. And the great thing is that obviously we had a massive loss last year when we lost Galileo. So hopefully No Nay Never may turn into the sire apparent. They're obviously huge shoes to fill, but I wouldn't say it lightly, but it's not something I would say lightly. But I think Scat Daddy is certainly the best stallion that we have ever stood here at Coolmore America. I think what he achieved in only 7 crops of racing age was phenomenal.
And the other thing I would also say regarding just what you're talking about there, and the talent and the ability and the surface versatility, this is a brave. There seems to be an element of bravery that comes with the sire line as well. I mean, we just saw there in the replay of Johannesburg, just walled up behind horses. You've seen a lot with, again, this line in particular. These horses just have a determined way of going, where they don't get basically disabused of the idea that they can still win. They persevere on. And it's just really incredible to see a 2-year-old in particular run that way and stay behind and stay cool and come around. And one of the things I thought was interesting when we were watching Blackbeard on Sunday was the fact that he was showing some pre-race antics, but he still has talent enough to overcome that. And I actually have the video here, so you can take us through. Where were you guys watching this, by the way?
Oh, I was watching it at home. I wish I had been in Deauville, but no, I was watching it at home.
Oh, gosh.
His pre-race antics are becoming quite famous now. I think he's just a horse that seems to like to get on with things. I mean, he's run 7 times so far. He made his debut, a winning debut in Dundalk on the sand early in the year in April in Ireland. Now that was his 7th run, and is obviously his first grade 1. But here he is. He's looking like a circus performer, and he's about to take off. But one thing I think is incredible there is that once he gets that out of his system, then he's fine.
Yeah.
He's a horse that obviously he enjoys his racing. He's taking it all in his stride. But when it comes to when the gates open, he was very, very professional. He broke very, very quick. Settled into his stride exceptionally well. And the horse that finished third, the grey horse you see now in the Mrs. Magna colours in the blue.
Yeah.
The grey horse, that's the Antarctic, a very well related horse, and a brother by Dark Angel, a brother to Batash, so very well related, speedy horse in his own right. This was a only 5 runners, but a very, very formful race coming out of with good Royal Ascot form.
Yeah, you had the Riddler in there who had won the Norfolk and has a ticket to Breeders' Cup as well on Future Stars Friday in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and then Persian Force, who was second, won the July Stakes at Newmarket. So yeah, I'd say a very formful race, and none of them seemed to have too much trouble in running. But this horse, as I say, for a horse that acted up a little bit beforehand, the further he went, the better he got, and was very, very professional. You look how straight he keeps.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yes.
He keeps a very, very straight line. He's very competitive when Persian Force comes to him and gallops through the line very well. So I think hopefully a horse that we may see over here at Keeneland later on in the year.
Well, that would be very exciting if we could. I know that Aidan O'Brien had said that he thinks that the turn there is something that would suit him well at Keeneland. The other thing, though, like you're talking about those pre-race antics, obviously a lot of us who are betting the races, we see that happening before a race and we're like, oh no, do I have to change my bet? And that's why, again, it's just all the more impressive that he after, as you said, after he got out of the system, he's like, all right, game on, let's go. And still put in that impressive of a performance. And I got to give a shout out also to Ryan Moore, because he just sat there like, okay, dude.
Yeah, no, the guy who's like, sort of, let's get this out of your system and let's get this race. Yeah,
I love it. Another scion. Oh, we lost your video. You might have gotten a call. Oh, you're back. Okay. Another scion of No Nay Never, who is making some noise across the pond, and I don't know if we'll see him over here or not, but we have to talk about him, is Little Big Bear. And Little Big Bear just put in this stunning performance in the Phoenix. Let me see if I can find. I have so many replays. Yes. Where is the replay here? I'm just looking for. I have so many pulled up. Here we go.
Yeah, this was pretty special.
Oh, definitely. Take us through it.
The great thing about it, it'll take a while to get to the end when he really becomes impressive. But also, a Persian Force was second in this race again. So Persian Force has held his form and run second to probably our 2 leading juvenile colts this year. So the form of these races is working out. But luckily enough for us, these two seem to be the best of their generation. I mean, they're just professional horses who like to train. They obviously like good ground. This is the 5th group. No Nay Never's had 5 group winning 2-year-olds so far this year. He's and this crop is legitimately the best bred, because these horses were the first crop conceived after he had his breakout first crop of 2-year-olds. So these are the sort of, in theory, the better mares that he's covering. But this was incredibly impressive, So the further he went, the better he got, and really did it quite easily in the end. And this was a good Group 1. This is the sort of leading Group 1 to win in Ireland, certainly early on the season.
He's just so I mean, they're all stamped too. That's the other thing. Again, just going back to that, they all have this look, but he looks like a bigger type than Blackbeard.
Yeah, personally, I've not seen either of them, so I wouldn't be able to comment on that. I would say on the video, he certainly looks a little bit bigger. Yeah.
And one of the things you also got to love if you're a petty geek like me is with this horse in particular, not only is he buying No Nay Never, so you've got that again, just really potent and classy pedigree with that sire line. But his 3rd dam, and for the layman out there, that would be his great-grandmother, his maternal great-grandmother. That is an ARC winner in All Along, who won it in 1983. So is there any hope we might see him brought here, or are plans pretty much based with the European schedule?
No, I think, there's never... plans are sort of are made, yes, but they're also can be changed at any given time, and it just depends on how these horses take their next assignments. I mean, Blackbeard has run now 7 times. Little Big Bear has had his fifth run. So it just depends on how, I'm sure, how they train over the next few weeks and how their next assignments go. I mean, listen, we're big proponents of the Breeders' Cup. It's our, it's the World Champions for everyone, but World Championships for everyone, and something that we're always honoured and very, very excited to be part of. We like winning over here, and certainly having it in Keeneland is very important, because not only is it where the sales are going to happen immediately afterwards, but all the breeders are here. So if you can, certainly with a colt, if you can win one of these 2-year-old races or even older horse races, it certainly does you no harm in terms of a future stallion career. So yeah, I think it just depends on how these horses take their next few months training, and hopefully we'll see them in November.
Wonderful. Now we have a few people who have been joining us. John Evans, his whole shtick is like a dog thing, which is kind of fun. He says, "Woof woof, thank you all. I'm sorry it was working." So the woof woof is a good thing, not a bad thing. And then we've got Lawrence Anthony, who is a sire of Little Big Bear. So if you're just tuning in, we're talking about, we started the show talking about No Nay Never, who won the Prix Morny back in 2013, because his son Blackbeard just won it on Sunday. But in addition to him, we had to talk about No Nay Never's other son, Little Big Bear. You just saw the replay there, and he is he's currently the top rated time form 2-year-old, 126. And I was reading an article that was put together by Mr. McFadden, and he was talking about, what was it? Frankel, Dream Ahead, Air Force Blue, New Approach, Johannesburg, Lady Aurelia, and Too Darn Hot are the only other juveniles this century to have recorded an end-of-season rating higher than 126. So the fact that he's already there, and he looked well within himself in the Phoenix, it's got to have you hoping.
Yeah, I think he's got all the ingredients. I mean, it was the excitement. We were in Saratoga when Little Big Bear won the Phoenix Stakes at the sales up there, and we watched it on the video monitors there. But the excitement after that horse won was something I'd never experienced before. It was a huge, huge win. I think to see him do that, to win that Group 1 in Ireland so impressively by 7 lengths, being a very, very good horse in Persian Force, who finished second. I think it's a huge. He was bred by Camus Park, who's Tim Hyde Senior and his son Tim Hyde Junior in Summerhill. They're obviously great supporters and long-time friends of the Magner family and of Coolmore. So for them to have bred it, for the horse to have worked out so well and become such a promising 2-year-old so early in his career. I mean, we're only on the 23rd of August now. He won that on the 6th of August. So you'd have to say that hopefully, there's a lot more to come, but that was insanely impressive.
Again, 2 prospects there by No Nay Never, who I'm hoping we will see stateside. But now let's talk about some stateside action. Oh, real quick, Jay wants to say hello, ladies and gents. Hello. So we got to talk about Justify. We already mentioned him previously. This is another son of Scat Daddy, so representing that sire line. So obviously, when a horse goes to stud and they're a Triple Crown champion, there are expectations. But boy, he is exceeding those. I would think. What is the perspective there at Coolmore when you're seeing just the talent that's come out? He's already got 3 stakes winners here. And then another horse, actually, I have her replay pulled up as well, who I thought was stupendously impressive. And you probably can guess I'm talking about Justique. But just go ahead and talk about Justify for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, well, what really can you say that hasn't already been said? I mean, an undefeated Triple Crown champion by the late great Scat Daddy out of a Ghost Sapper mare, bred by the Gunthers here just down the road at their Glenwood farm. A wonderful horse bought by Henry Field on behalf of SF Bloodstock, Windstar Farm and China Horse Club. He did them proud in their Triple Crown bid, and he was just an amazing big red monster who came running down the track. And I mean, I know it was over in 120 days or whatever it was, but I don't think we'll ever forget that Triple Crown run.
That's
it was
sure.
Insane to think that he could go from maiden to allowance to Santa Anita Derby to the Triple Crown, and then I mean, it was most breathtaking careers we've ever witnessed. I mean, obviously the racing fan would obviously want it to have lasted a bit longer, but such a well-bred horse, a really, really good-looking horse. He covered the best mares that, I mean, we thought American Pharoah covered a strong book of mares in his first couple of books, but what Justify covered was even better. And he's a horse that really, we didn't think he didn't run it too. We thought maybe they were going to take a little bit more time, but he's already had 8 winners so far, and some very, very impressive maiden winners at the premier tracks in the country. He's had success on dirt, also on turf over in Ireland with Statuette, winning the Early Stud Stakes at the Curragh. So, again, it just speaks to the legacy of Scat Daddy, which is his versatility. They all look a little bit different, the Scat Daddies. You've got Justify's 17 Hands and Chestnut, Caravaggio, who's 15-2 and Grey, and Mendelssohn, who's Bay and somewhere in between. So they're a different type, but one thing they do bring is they've got heart. They like to train, and they seem to like to get their heads in front.
Well, I would say, I'm looking at Mendelssohn. I think Mendelssohn looks a lot like his sire, and No Nay Never himself as well. But yeah, I mean, Justify standing up. Well, I actually have this picture. I mentioned it to you before we started. I have, let's see. So that's at Coolmore, back when my little girl, she's 4 years old now, but she was teeny tiny then, and he had been retired that year. And he was just so cool. But yeah, you get up next to him and he is giant.
Yeah, he's a big boy. Yeah, he really is.
And so, I mean, like we joke about, I mean, you have not one Triple Crown champion, but 2. And the fact that we hadn't had one between Pharoah and affirmed 37 years, it's pretty remarkable. But you already talked about Statuette, who won the Group 2. Just Cindy. And this was actually a Coolmore-sired exacta in the Schuylerville Stakes, because the runner-up was her name, Summer Promise, by Uncle Mo. So that had to feel pretty cool, I would think.
Yeah, and a big shout out to Eddie Keneally, who obviously trains this filly for Clarkland Farm. She was. I hope you've got the replay here, because she was very, very impressive.
Right here.
That's the way to get your opening weekend at Saratoga off to a good start.
I would say so, yes. But that's one of the things I've been noticing. I mean, quite often, and it's no surprise, you stand some of the best stallions, not only here in the United States, but in the world. But I'm noticing a lot of Coolmore-sired exactas in the big stakes races.
Well, we're in a very privileged position to stand some very, very good stallions, but really it's down to the breeders who support them. We would be nothing without the breeders who send us they entrust us with their mares, entrust us with the legacy of their farms, and it's nice when it works out. It doesn't always work out, as we all know, but when you get a horse that comes in with the sort of hype and the legacy or the race record of a Justify, and when it looks like it's certainly starting to work out, it's very gratifying indeed. And it's he bred big books of mares. He bred some of the best mares in the business. I think it was 68 individual Grade 1 winners or producers in the first crop. So he has every right to be a success, but it's also very gratifying when it finally does happen. And she was, the further she went, the better she got as well. So hopefully we'll see her now in the next week or two.
Yeah, it's so exciting. And then another filly, this performance blew my mind. I'm talking about Justique for John Sheriffs. And we know John Sheriffs, he doesn't care if he wins first out or not. The fact that I'll just play the replay and you can tell me your impressions of it. What did you watch this live, or did you watch it after the fact?
I watched it live.
Okay, so did it blow your mind as well?
we're all on it. We've got a first season sire text group. It was a lot of exclamation marks.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So okay, everybody, just
and don't forget, she was bred by the same people that actually bred Justified, by the Gunthers.
That's right, the Gunthers, yes.
And her father,
John. That's correct. Yeah, so
I mean, their record in the business, I mean, they've bred some astounding horses, not only Justified, but Vino Rosso, Stay Thirsty,
Good Magic.
Stand here.
Hmm.
And where is she? She's right at the back, isn't she?
Yeah. Yeah, she's last right now, everybody. Just keep your eye on the 7. I should have gotten the aerial version of the replay, but
that's one of those races where you wish the jockey was wearing a camera on his helmet.
yes. Yeah. Talk about, again, bravery for a 2-year-old. In this case, a 2-year-old filly doing what she does here.
Yeah, she was. I mean, literally, she's out. She's just learning. You know what I mean? She's just doing. This is all coming so naturally to her. But then, suddenly, when she sees those two in her sights, she sort of figures it all out and does it kind of pretty easily in the end. She's sort of cantered by them. So yeah, I mean, I think that the sky's the limit with this horse, and you'd imagine that whatever they achieve now with as 2-year-olds, the best should be yet to come. We're hoping to debut a colt of our own this weekend, depending on how the track looks up in Saratoga for Brad Cox. His name is Verifying. He's a half to Midnight Bizu. So obviously a very, very well bred horse. We loved him as a 2-year-old. We bought him from Hunter Valley Farm. So he is very close to a debut. The plan is to run him, I think, hopefully on Saturday, and we will, see how that goes. But I think Brad is he told us to give him a good name anyway. So that's
well, there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, Brad,
whether everyone else thinks Verifying is a good name or not, I'm not sure. But
I can see that name on a trophy. There's so often, that's the test for any name for me. Can you see it on a trophy?
Yep.
That's why, I mean, there have been some questionable names in horse racing for sure. I won't say any of them right now because even though they passed the Jockey Club, my ladylike instincts tell me to stay away.
That's for another time and another conversation.
Exactly. But I mean, that was Justique and just incredible. And if you guys can go online and find the drone replay, because just watching her weave in and out of the traffic is so remarkable. So for anybody who's like, oh, well, the pace set up for her, she still had to do all of that. And that is remarkable to see from any 2-year-old, let alone 2-year-old filly, because sometimes they can be a little.
It's amazing. A lot of times they get disheartened as well. You see a wall of horses in front of you, and sometimes they do get disheartened. But no, she took it to mean something completely different, and off she went.
Exactly. No, it was really remarkable what she did. Okay, so now let's talk about my friend Christian Black. He actually bred this horse. He went to the ring that you guys picked up for $1.1 million at the Fasig-Tipton Select Yearling Sale. Just a beautiful son of Justified, this boy being out of Slew's Golden Rule. Tell us why, when you have the stud, you were just like, okay, well, we have to have this one.
I mean, listen, firstly, he stood out as the best Justified to us. He stood out as one of the best colts certainly on the first night. I know he was eclipsed slightly on the second night by a couple of gun runners, but he had balance, he had athleticism, he had strength, he was very correct, good mover. Christian Black's been a long-time supporter of our stallions here at Ashford. He's a great guy and a great client. We're happy to give something back, so to speak, by supporting him and the stock he produces. But at the end of the day, he produced here a really, really good athletic horse, and hopefully one that we think will give us some nice days out on Saturdays. But I think this horse is a great embodiment of what Justify produces. I mean, they're balanced, athletic horses. They move well. I mean, you just look at him. He's just he's an absolute beast. And I think a lot of people did think that he was a fine colt. Obviously, he wasn't cheap, but yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, we'll see what the future holds for him. He's back here now at Ashford. He's going to have 2 months off, and then when the dust settles after the September sale, we'll group them all together and start the breaking process and decide who goes where. But I think that certainly we're pretty happy with what we picked up at Fasig-Tipton in Saratoga.
He's stunning. I can tell you that in the days preceding the sale, I actually was out to dinner with Christian and his wife and some other friends. And he told me, you have to see this yearling, because I asked him, you know, who you got in the sale this go around, and he showed me the picture, and I was just like, hot diggity, that horse is stunning. I mean, you just look at all the parts and how they fit, and the short cannon bones, you know, all the parts are in the right places, and he's just beautiful. So when we saw that not only did he go for what he went for, but that it was Coolmore, it was all more exciting, because you know that horse is going to get every opportunity to fulfill what they hope he can do. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully that's the plan. And you know, as I say, it's great. Christian's been a wonderful friend, a great supporter over the last while. Hunter and Kitty Day at Warrendale do a really good job on Hunter's behalf as well. So I think it was nice that it worked out, and listen, hopefully he's lucky for us and for them.
Oh, I hope so. Let's see. Well, Jay actually says, any chance you guys will send a mare to Gun Runner? Did you guys purchase any Gun Runners at the sales? And the answer to that is an emphatic yes, you did. And for $2.3 million, I'll show the replay here of this beautiful son of Gun Runner. And he was the hype horse going into the sale. Even before the sale kicked off, I heard about him, and that people were anticipating that he was going to go for over $2 million. But yeah, he goes over for 2.3. And I remember I was actually standing there in front of you guys, I think, with my daughter and my husband. And he was in the ring, and I had no idea who was bidding on him, because, you know, when you're out in that little area, it's hard to keep track of who's putting in what bid. But that was incredible. The buzz as that tote kept flicking up and up.
Yeah, and it certainly it felt like it. Well, for me, it felt like it was going on forever. But again, a lovely horse from Gainesway, out of a Malibu Moon mare, who was a Grade 1 winner in her own right. She won the Alcibiades at Keeneland. So hopefully a horse that will be precocious in his own right. It goes back to a very good family. But Malibu Moon needs no introduction as a broodmare sire, and Gun Runner is looking like he might be the best sire in America. I mean, he's incredible what he's achieved. Your guest asked, are we sending any mares to Gun Runner? We did this year, and we hope to next year as well. You've got to take your hat off to him. He's a wonderful horse, and he's achieved, I think is it 5 Grade 1 winners in his first crop, which is, I mean, insane.
It is. And you actually have the Grade 1 winning half brother to one of his daughters, who are champion Echo Zulu on the juvenile fillies, champion 2-year-old filly. He's going to be he is there at Ashford right now. How is he being received?
Echo Town, yeah, beautiful horse, very fast horse by Speightstown. Obviously very well related as well in his own right, being a brother to Echo Zulu, as you said. He was well supported in both his first and second books. His first foals will now come on the market here in November. So I think they'll sell well. He's a medium-sized horse, very good looking, great balance. He got some good support with his first book, so hopefully they'll be well received by the market.
Well, when you see this horse in particular, I mean, again, the buzz was there. I know that, well, I mean, he was consigned by Gainesway. Yep. And Mr. Grays over there he said that horse really made an impression on him. But what separates it from going, you know, for example, Flightline went for 1.1, I think, himself at the yearling, to go to 2.3 for a horse. What is that? What goes into that? You're like, okay, it is definitely worth it. We have to go that high and double up to 2.3.
That's a very good question, Ren. I'm not clever enough to know the answer to that. I think it's a question of, you know, there's no doubt that these are untried horses, a massive risk. A lot of things have to go right for them to recoup that money. Not only on the track, but then hopefully what you're doing is you're investing in a future stallion, right. And that's what we're all about. We're all about it's for us, it's a cyclical business. We've got a high class broodmare band here. We stand our own stallions. We support other farm stallions as well, and you know we breed a certain amount of them every year, but we also go out to the market and then try and see if we can buy the best that we possibly can. Sometimes we get it right, sometimes we get it wrong, but the idea is that the future colts will come back to replenish our stallion ranks in the years to come, and that's the idea. If it works out, then you know, these horses could end up looking cheap. But when you see a horse like Gun Runner, he's probably a once in a lifetime type stallion, and we're lucky at the moment in the United States. We've got some wonderful stallions around. You know, you've got the likes of our big three here in American Pharoah, Justify, and Uncle Mo. Munnings as well, you'd have to include in that group. But then on other farms, like, you know, the likes of Tappet, the likes of Quality Road, Warfront at Claiborne has been a wonderful servant. Gun Runner looks like he's into mischief at Spencer. How could you forget him? You know, Gun Runner looks like, and I'm forgetting, I'm on the fly here, so there's
no, it's okay.
But Gun Runner looks like he is an exceptional talent, and you know, his eldest are only 3. He's at a classic winner in early voting in his first crop, which is an amazing thing to do. I mean, Uncle Mo did it with Nyquist when he won the Kentucky Derby in his first crop for Uncle Mo. But yeah, he looks like he could be every bit as good as the best stallions out there. So, you know, when a good one comes along at the sales, or one that's perceived to be a good one, you've got to try and go after it.
No, definitely. I mean, you're in it to win it, right? And, you know, speaking of talking about things off the fly, absolutely, a little cleanup, you know, Good Magic bred by Stone Street. I'm thinking Chestnuts, and obviously he was running that same series with Justify, but Justify and Vino Rosso, I believe, were actually in the same paddock together at the Gunther's farm. Which is mind-blowing, right? Yeah. When you think about it. But okay, so let's talk about, I mean, you brought up Into Mischief. Well, you stand his half brother there, another son of Scat Daddy and Mendelssohn, and you're talking about the surface versatility. Well, here he is winning the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf back in 2017, and he went on to be quite accomplished on the dirt as well. Let's see here, I got the replay up. Oh, let me make it bigger. So Mendelssohn, tell us about him.
Well, what more can you say? He's got all the ingredients. You know, the 3 things that make a stallion: their pedigree, which is certainly, you won't find a better one than him, being a brother to Into Mischief, and also the great Beholder, who was an 8-time Grade 1 winner for B-Way News and Spencer Farm. Into Mischief, as I said, has been champion sire, I think, for the last 3 years. He probably will be again before very long. One of the best sires out there, without a doubt. And then Mendelssohn himself was a $3 million yearling. He's got the physique, he's got the pedigree, and all that was left was for him to go ahead and do it on the track, which I think you're about to see a pretty impressive display when he won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf at Delmar. A great ride. This was an insanely good ride by Ryan Moore here as well. Just really was a wonderful judge of pace. Yeah. And then, of course, as a 3-year-old, I think you probably have the replay of his race when he won the UAE Derby by 18 lengths.
I don't have that replay pulled up. I went the Breeders' Cup replay, but no, I know that was insane.
Sorry for putting you on the spot there.
It's okay.
But yeah, so here you see Ryan about to pull into some daylight, and he scoots very, very quickly clear. But a horse that was raced. He wasn't lightly raced as a 2-year-old. He raced plenty as a 2-year-old. Was a Grade 2 winner at Newmarket, and then went on to be a Breeders' Cup champion as well, and a very impressive one at that. So he's off to a very good start at stud himself. Has had a couple of very impressive winners at Saratoga, and it's all about winning on the marquee tracks and doing it in front of the crowds. So hopefully the best is yet to come with him as well. He's off to a very good start.
But that's the thing. I mean, just going back, talking about Saratoga, one of those races where he showed that dirt form was running that game second in the Travers, and we got the Travers this Saturday. So it just feels fitting to bring that up. But we also saw him put in a tremendous show to finish in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. I mean, it's just to be able to have that flexibility, as we've already discussed regarding that sire line. It is just so. I don't know, when you can do it at Grade 1 level, and we've seen a lot of horses who can run both surfaces, but when they can do it at Grade 1
and do it from Ireland. I mean, let's not forget, this horse as a let me get this right. So at the end of his 2-year-old career, he went to Del Mar, won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. Early in his 3-year-old year, he raced in Ireland. Then he went to Dubai. Then he came to Kentucky Derby, raced against Justify. If you remember that day, it lashed rain. He absolutely he misbehaved quite badly that day. He then came back to Belmont. Then he went to the Travers. Then he went to the Jockey Club Gold Cup, and then he went to the Breeders' Cup, where he ran well, and then he went to and finished 4th in Cigar Mile at Aqueduct. So he had about how many is that? 6 or 7 trips to the United States in 1 year, which is insane. And ran with credit each time. Now, he didn't win as a 3-year-old over here, but he did win in Dubai, and he placed in the Travers and placed in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. 2 iconic races, and placed, second behind Catholic Boy in the Travers, which was a hell of a run as well. So I think he was a very, very good horse that probably didn't get as much recognition as maybe he deserved, but he's been exceptionally popular at stud because of who he's by and because of what he did.
Am I having a random wrong memory, or am I right? Did he like to announce himself when he got to track?
He did, yeah.
Okay.
he was a talker.
That's right. He's like, hey, everybody, I am here with the big Winnie, and let them all know. But yeah, what you just said, I mean, you have to have not only the physical, but the mental fortitude to do what he did. And so that is something I'm sure breeders are very incentivized by when they're sending a mare to Mendelssohn. So we talked about the fact that he's got some runners already off the mark, one of them being Classical Cat, who just won at Del Mar. And the thing that I found so interesting here is because we had a horse entered, Zedon Stables, well, man, put in a really good performance. Hijazi for $3,550,000. And here, Classical Cat went for a modest price, surprisingly. But boy, did he just blow the doors off in the debut here. So I'll go ahead and share the screen. And I will say, for those of you who are like pedigree dorks like me also, another reason to really love this horse's pedigree, not only is he by Mendelssohn, but, and let me see here, right here it is, but his grandmother, his maternal grandmother, is a half sister to Curlin.
I'm bred by Doug Branham at Hurricane Hills in just outside of Paris, Kentucky, who are great clients and supporters of ours. And this horse actually was sold through Mike Ricio's South Point sales agency. Unfortunately, we lost Mike last year, and this was one of the last horses that was sold under his banner. So it was kind of a poignant win, really, and a hopefully a very, very promising horse.
That's very profound what you just said, and I'm sure made the connections very happy to see not just a win but an emphatic win.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not as if Zedon Racing's Bernardini, or expensive Bernardini Colt ran a bad race either. He certainly did.
No.
Very impressive debut, and he'll have learned an awful lot from it. And there was a good bit of daylight between second and third as well. So it's hopefully quite a formative maiden, or quite a formful maiden. But Classical Cat looked like he was going away well at the end as well. So distance, I'd say, for a lot of these Mendelssohns won't be an issue. And I think, like a lot of the no-name nevers, we're seeing, yes, they're very fast, but hopefully in time they'll get the mile and maybe a little bit further.
Yeah, no, the ability certainly seems to be there. It's just a matter of honing it and seeing what they best want to do and just to encourage it further. So that was Classical Cat. Let's see here. The other thing I should mention with Mendelssohn, like you were talking about, just the fact that he is the half brother to Into Mischief and to Beholder, but just that Leslie's Lady. I mean, that she really was. I mean, recently she passed away. Just a blue hen mare in the modern day like that, to have that much success is pretty significant. So the fact that he brings that to the table along with that Scat Daddy sire line, really, really, really potent. So now we're going to talk about American Pharoah. Now I don't have his classic pulled up. I wish I did, because he is my favorite living horse. I'm not going to lie, but for a couple of reasons. I mean, not only does he have that talent and ability, I've never seen a horse in myself personally. Maybe there were horses in the past, but I've never seen any horse present day that runs as efficiently as Pharoah. He had absolutely no wasted action. Just everything about him just looks like a work of art to me, even though he's in this brown package. He really is that impressive when you see him, and intelligent too. I actually have met him a few times over the years, but here is just for everybody, because I love to show these photos. Here's the family with Pharoah back when we were on that same trip seeing Justify as well. But just the success he had right out of the gate at stud. He had a Breeders' Cup winner, 4-wheel drive, taking the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. He had a couple other juveniles run well there at Breeders' Cup. You were telling me he already has how many Grade 1 winners so far this year?
Well, he's got 6 in total, but he's had four of them have happened this year. I mean, he's, what can you say more? This horse, I promise you, he's done more for the business in Kentucky and maybe worldwide than any other horse I can remember. We've had people burst into tears when they meet him. We've had people get engaged in front of him. We've had people collapse in front of him. He is the most important thing that's ever come to Coolmore America. The most important horse that's ever come to Coolmore America. And I think we're just the lucky ones that get to stand him. But I think what he's done for the business, I mean, alone by selling his halters for charity, he's raised over $300,000 for equine charities. He's an amazing horse. He's become an amazing sire, an 8-time Grade 1 winner, a Triple Crown winner, a Grand Slam winner, but by winning the Breeders' Cup Classic and defeating older horses. And now he's becoming a really, really good sire in his own right, and an international sire. You know, he's had great success in Japan with Cafe Pharoah, who's a Grade 1 winner this year. He's had Van Gogh, who's a European champion 2-year-old. He's had a Breeders' Cup winner in Sweet Melania. He's got Above the Curve, who's a Grade 1 winner for him this year as well. I mean, he's just an amazing horse on dirt, on turf. We're privileged and lucky to stand him.
Well, one of the things that you just mentioned, Grand Slam, and the fact that was unprecedented. For those who don't know, because I feel some people are kind of new to racing, they don't know that the Breeders' Cup didn't exist during the days of Affirmed and Slew and Secretariat going back. So he was the first Triple Crown champion to have the opportunity to even try to go for winning the Breeders' Cup Classic. And the fact that he did it, and not only did he do it, but I would say that is his best race. And he's a 3-year-old beating the older horses in there as well. And that was a nice field. To me, of course, it makes you wonder what could he have done if he had continued on. But like you said, what he's been doing in retirement has been so important, not only as a stallion, but doing the work there, even raising money for charity. Do you remember when he first came to the farm and or the first time you even met him in person?
I mean, I saw him as a yearling at the sales. I didn't really get to meet him there, but I saw him as a yearling. I saw him at various different stages throughout his 2-year-old and 3-year-old year. But the moment that will stick out always in my mind is when he won the Belmont. I've never been at a sporting occasion like it. I've never seen so many random people hug each other. Such a outburst of emotion. It was, and there was when Justify won the Triple Crown, there was certainly huge emotion and excitement as well, but it wasn't like American Pharoah. This was something that I think people didn't think could maybe happen again. You know, people talk about changing the Triple Crown, about shortening the distances, about lengthening the space between the races. And I think he showed us that we probably don't need to mess with the Triple Crown. It can be done. It just takes a very, very special horse to do it. We don't need to make it easier, but we need to relish it when it does happen. And I think he was a horse that allowed us to do that. And as I say, the emotion that day when he won the Belmont was something I'll never forget. I'm lucky to have been at a lot of races and good sporting events, but that was incredible.
Yeah, I get chills just thinking about it. I could not get off work to attend myself, but watching it was. I've said this before. It was kind of a page out of Arthurian legend of the sword being pulled from the stone. Finally, he was the one. And again, just getting to meet him, he's even more impressive. He's what you would think you would want him to be. I
Well,
guess
he's such a kind horse. He's a very kind, gentle. He loves greeting people. He loves being out in front of the fans. He relishes that. Some horses get bored with it, get ticked off by it, but he enjoys the camera. If you can bring a carrot with you, he certainly enjoys eating those as well. So he's like a big pet, really, and he's a wonderful horse to be around, and I think has really helped grow our sport in many different ways.
I think Ron Turcotte had said regarding Secretariat, as good as he was on dirt, he was 15 lengths. He could have been 15 lengths better on grass. We saw Secretariat actually, show a big performance.
I do remember Bob Baffert always saying to us that he wished he would. Now, Bob isn't necessarily renowned as he doesn't run many horses on turf, but he said he would have loved to have tried him on turf because he just felt that he was that type of horse that could have taken the turf very easly. But I suppose when you're a Triple Crown winner, you don't really need to go that route. But
building the lily. But I mean, it would make sense though, because when you're, that Pioneer the Nile line, the Empire Maker line with Tussaud in there, I mean, it all would have made sense. And so the fact that he's having the international success that he is just unsurprising. Now, he normally would have shuttled, but they decided not to shuttle this year. What was the thinking behind that?
But both Justify and American Pharoah, they'd had shuttled for the last 4 years, and it was 3 years. Sorry, both of them had shuttled for the last 3 years, and it was deemed that basically we needed to give them both a year off. It was the right time to do it, certainly with Justify, because he's going to have his first runners down in Australia this winter. The word is pretty good. They sold very well. So you can always go back if they prove to be successful at 2 and at 3. Then I think there's certainly the opportunity for him to go back. And likewise with Pharoah, we just they were busy up here. We felt it was the right time. If we were going to give them a break, this is the right time to do it. So they're here at the farm, enjoying life, and have 6 months off.
Well, that's definitely fun. And actually going back and thinking about how I mentioned Tussaud being the dam of Empire Maker. Empire Maker, for those of you who don't know, Empire Maker is the sire Pioneer of the Nile. Was it? I can't remember when they repatriated Empire Maker, but I would have to think that was part of the reasoning in bringing him back was the success of Pharoah. Obviously, at Royal Delta, kind of early. I forget which crop she came out of for Empire Maker, but
yeah, I can't remember. I mean, I think part of the reason was that he went to Japan, was fairly successful, but not as successful as maybe that in Japan as maybe people would have presumed. So I think the opportunity came up to repatriate him, and obviously Pioneer of the Nile was doing exceptionally well in this country. So he became, even though I think he had 3 crops before 3 or 4 crops here when he came back, but he was a hell of a stallion and a really impressive racehorse.
Oh, that is for sure. And I mean, Pioneer of the Nile is another horse that was lost too early there at Windstar. But again, Pharoah is definitely holding down the fort there at Coolmore with just the success he's having internationally. Now, talking about a horse who is a scion of his, we got to talk about American Theorem, one of the Grade 1 winners. This is American Theorem winning the Bing Crosby, a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Sprint. But he is also going to be looking for berth for the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile in the Pat O'Brien, which is Saturday.
Yeah, let's not forget this guy was one of American Pharoah's first ever Grade 1 performers. As a 2-year-old, he was second in the American Pharoah, the aptly named American Pharoah Stakes at Santa Anita, and has come back at the age of 5 to be probably better than ever, winning the Triple Brand, and now as we're seeing here, the Bing Crosby.
Yeah. So I mean, just the fact that do you have any insight as to which way they may want to go, determining on how many tickets, if he gets that second ticket punch?
I don't, to be honest. No, I'd say it very much depends on how he runs this weekend. But he's won. He seems to be 6, 7, or 8. It doesn't seem to matter whether, in terms of furlongs, whether it's 6, 7, or 8. It doesn't seem to really matter to American Theorem. He's a pretty versatile horse. So I'd say, again, run him and see.
Oh, just you can see that power from this horse too.
This is a very impressive win.
Oh, that stride, I love it.
But I mean, I think one of the criticisms against American Pharoah up till this year was that maybe, you know, a lot of his success was coming on turf. But I think it's certainly been firmly dispelled.
Yeah. Well,
but let's not forget Forbidden Kingdom as well. I mean,
oh gosh, I know.
The year was it looked like he was going to be one of the best horses out in California.
That was my Derby horse, and then when he flipped his palate, or I forget what happened. It was something minor, but he was off the trail then. Don't remember. It wasn't anything major.
It was. You're right. He got an entrapped epiglottis.
That's it. There you go. I'm glad you got to say it instead of me. I already trip over my words enough as it is sometimes. Let's see here. Willie is saying.
And he's back working, actually. He worked 4 days ago. He's back. He's done 3 furlong workouts in Del Mar. So he's a bit of a way off, but he's back working. So that's good.
Well, you're very close here, Willie. Empire Maker is by Unbridled. And Unbridled is by Fabiano. But I don't know where the Unbridled... you're talking about the same thing. But the buy and the outs can sometimes be confusing to people if they're not in the breeding side of it. But very close. You're very close, because you're right. That he is by that Unbridled is a son of Fabiano, and Unbridled did sire Empire Maker. So let's see here. Just making sure, because he's saying I'm waiting. You guys don't have anything with Capensis, right? That's a Todd Pletcher horse. It's a gray. He's by Tappet, but you guys don't have anything with him. I did see him in the barn, Willie. I will say that when we were up at Saratoga, and he was very nice. Now let's talk about another horse that's going to be standing there at Coolmore. We're talking about Golden Pal. So here's Golden Pal in the Troy Stakes. And I think some of the people are like, oh, that was close there. Yeah, he won. It was close. I think it's a little unfair. He was completely taken out of his game there at the start. I read a comment that they were saying that the gates opened as he was taking a step to the right. So he ended up basically spotting the field there at the beginning. And he came instead this time from a rating position to win.
Yeah, he's unusually for one of Wesley's. He didn't break on top, but as you say, there was an excuse there. And I think Wesley wanted to maybe also teach the horse to rate a little bit, and obviously he did. But what's very apparent is that this horse is insanely fast. I think Wesley's on record as saying he's probably one of the best he's ever trained. And when you are the trainer of the likes of Lady Aurelia, None Never, Acapulco, I could go on. He's and the test winner this only a couple of weeks ago. I mean, Wesley's an incredible guy, great horseman, and a joy to be around. And he's such a good trainer. He really is an amazing guy. But Golden Pal is certainly a favorite of his and has been for a long time. And I know Wesley was very deflated after his run in the King Stand at Ascot. So it was nice to come back from Europe and win impressively here at Saratoga, and hopefully set him up for a big fall. Maybe twice at Keeneland. Hopefully we'll see him in the Keeneland regular meet, and then hopefully at the Breeders' Cup.
And there is talk of potentially putting him on dirt at Keeneland.
I think that has been something. I think that Wesley's possibly keen to try. Whether it happens or not, I'm not sure. I think it'll depend on how he is over the next month or 6 weeks. But yeah, I think it's all options are open regarding his next date at Keeneland.
Well, that's pretty exciting. And not only, I mean, for those who don't know, Golden Pal also a son of Uncle Mo, who stands there at Coolmore Ashford Stud. So it's got to be all the more rewarding to see his son run to this level of competition and to become a 2-time Breeders' Cup champion and won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint there at Keeneland. And then last year he put in this. I don't know. I've talked about this with my husband. We don't know if we've ever seen a horse break like this in a race and just jet. This was insane. Let me actually go ahead and pull up the replay here of the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint from last year. I watched the race and I thought, oh, he's going too fast. He's never gonna be able to get home. But it was incredible. Yeah, it's like a rocket. You think it, as it's coming back you're re-entering Earth's atmosphere. It's going to shudder and maybe come apart. It's unbelievable. This horse is just unbelievable.
This was the Breeders' Cup. You know what I mean? This is the best. He's he's taking on the best of the division, and to scoot away from them like that. I mean, it was an incredible result.
Oh, just beautiful too. And as you were talking about coming back from Royal Ascot, I mean, he had an excuse there too. If you all watch the replay, his head was completely turned to the side as the gates opened, and he didn't get out of the gate well on top of it. So I would say he's had 2 races with excuses, one in which he actually overcame the adversity to still win. But just a stunner here. And again, a son of Uncle Mo. And I should have mentioned earlier when we were talking about Justique, by the way, she's a half sister, I believe, to Motown, who you have there at Coolmore.
Yeah. Motown is again another one of our first season sires. He's bred by the Gunthers, successful on both dirt and turf, and he's now a horse that he's already had 6 winners so far in his first crop. Off to a good start as well, and hopefully won't be long before we get the first stakes winner on board. He had his first winner here in Keeneland in April, so he was a very good 2-year-old himself, winning the Ren stakes for Anthony Dutrow, and then a grade one winner on turf as a 3-year-old. So
the Hollywood Derby, no, it's just very exciting. And I would say the one disappointment I personally have, I was having my family having just awful travel woes getting to Saratoga. So we actually, unfortunately, because of the situation, did not get there in time to watch him run live there in the Troy, talking about Golden Pal. And I was so disappointed. And I saw Wesley the next morning because I was actually doing a hit on Seth Merrow's show that he does there in the morning, Capital OTB. Mm-hmm. And so I got there to go do my hit. And I see Wesley, and I get a kick out of this because I love this horse and everybody knows I love him. He's like telling Seth, that's her horse, right? That's her horse. Talking about Gold. And so I mean, just so you guys know, that's my horse.
Well,
I do love him.
We'll save one for you.
All right, thank you. In all seriousness, that's the winner circle photo from the juvenile turf sprint. I got invited into the winner circle, so he's just a really cool, neat, talented horse. And you are right, because Wesley has said he's the best he's trained. So the fact that you've already gone over,
he's beautiful. Yeah,
he is stunning. So I've taken your time. You've been so generous with the insight, the information. I'm going to close out the show because how fitting. It is the Future Stars forecast. We talk about the 2-year-olds in particular, and talking about Uncle Mo. I mean, just now a sire of sires. And a Breeders' Cup champion. He won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile in 2010. He was Eclipse champion 2-year-old. And so to see what he has done since, just absolutely incredible. And you all should just, I'd be so thrilled to have a potent stud like him in the shed. And it looks like you have a host of others there at Ashford. And that's not even to say anything about what's going on in Europe. So,
well, listen, thank you so much for the support and for having me on. I really enjoyed it.
Well, I enjoyed it too. Thank you, everybody. This has been your Future Stars forecast on a 2-year-old Tuesday. We're going to close it out with Uncle Mo in the 2010 Breeders' Cup Juvenile.